Hello and welcome. This is Deb, otherwise known as Motorcycle Mommom. If this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. And if you are returning, welcome back. And thank you for the support. This video is all about my experience renting a motorcycle through RiderShare. RiderShare is a website, has a website. Anyway, it is www.riders-share.com. So before I decided that I was going to be renting through RiderShare, I naturally Googled, yes, I'm using that as a verb, motorcycle rentals in St. Petersburg, Florida, because that's where I was going. I got a few returns and I looked through them. I also asked on the Motorcycle Mommom Facebook page who had ever rented a bike, what company they used, and how that experience was for them. I was fortunate that I did receive some good responses. There were a few people that had rented through Eagle Rider, like that seemed to be the top one that people had commented back with, and they had good experiences. So of course I checked them out, but the closest bike that was available was well over an hour away. So I really didn't consider that to be a viable option for this particular trip. I will still keep them in mind and use them and look, for any future trips. I also looked at something called Twisted Road, and then I looked up any local motorcycle dealerships that I could find. So what was most important to me, or my primary focus, was on the location and the price. I knew that I was going to need to Uber from the hotel to the bike, and then from the bike back to the hotel when the rental was over. I didn't want the Uber to cost me more than the rental did. So I was definitely looking for location. And I kept checking the approximate distance from each of the bike offerings to the hotel I was staying at, and price was the other consideration. I knew that I didn't want to go over $200 for the 24-hour rental, and that I really wanted to be closer to $100 if that was even possible. And I knew that was like a dream to think that that was possible. I had never rented a motorcycle before, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I figured that for a late model Harley, it would be closer to $200. That wasn't what I ended up with. Keep listening and you'll see how all of that came together. I wasn't quite sure it was going to, but anyway. So what I was not counting on was to find not a lot of inventory and not a lot that was as close as I was looking for most of the sites that I looked at initially. RiderShare, though, seemed to have the greatest inventory options and the best prices. Plus, they offered 20% off the first rental, and I had a coupon for an additional, I think it was 25 to the discount. So that was a nice little offering. So pretty good deal. I also have a coupon code in the comments of this video if anybody's watching and interested in renting with RiderShare, because hey, every little bit helps. For those that might be new to my channel, my primary bike is a 2019 Heritage Softail. I also have a 1997 Sportster Hugger. So I was initially looking for a Softail or something similar to what I'm accustomed to riding. That's just kind of natural. You're comfortable with what you're comfortable with. So back to the site as I was looking to try to find, something similar. And I found the site really easy to use. You're able to filter by price, by brands, types of bikes, and even more. Owners sometimes offer to rent helmets and other gear, and I found it for me, it was easy to pack my half helmet in my luggage, and I almost always ride with boots. I might not wear a jacket or gloves, but I'm always in boots. For this particular trip, because I was going to Florida, the type of bike that I ended up with, I decided that sneakers would be absolutely fine, so I didn't pack the boots, I just brought the sneakers. There was every type of bike that was listed with RiderShare that one could really think of. Every type of bike and manufacturer represented in the listings. I made my initial selection. It was a red Honda Shadow. It had a windshield and bags the same as mine. My first motorcycle was a Honda Shadow, so I felt very comfortable with the selection. The bags meant I would have plenty of room for camera gear and such, so I was excited. The owners came back and stated that the bike needed work done and would not be available the dates that I wanted to rent it. So I was like, okay. I was a little disappointed, but back to the drawing board. I had seen quite a few other bikes, so I wasn't too worried. So, well, not the drawing board, but the website. So then I found a Harley-Davidson Iron 883. So that's a bit smaller than I want it, but like I said, I have an 883 in the garage and I put over 20,000 miles on that bike. So again, I felt comfortable with the selection, that I wouldn't have any trouble riding it. The owners have, I think it's 12 hours to respond to a request. And if they don't, then it's removed from an option for the person viewing it at the time. So you get like a cancellation. So yeah, the next day I received notice that the owner had not responded in sufficient time and the rental was canceled. So back to the website again. And by this time I was getting to be a little bit disillusioned. It wasn't with Riders Share, it's just the process in general, but I kept looking and I found a Honda Rebel 1100. So I had seen it before and it definitely met the location aspect that I wanted, but it had smaller bags and I was concerned about carrying stuff. So I watched a YouTube review on the bike and I decided to give it a go. And I'm really glad that I did. I couldn't, the overall experience was really great, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But for this one, my request was accepted, and I was relieved because now, Florida's not that long away from my planning, and I have a bike. So I'm excited and thinking about, well, where do I want to go to? Where am I going to video? That kind of thing, as soon as I knew that I had the bike. So I want to share a bit more information about using Riders Share or something similar. So I had learned this with the first one that I put in, and then, kept getting reminded of it each time I submitted for a different bike. But at least from what I saw, and if anybody else knows differently, please do comment and share. I've rented once from one company, so I certainly do not know everything there is to know, and I would love to know you guys' experiences with renting and with what companies you used. So when, I'm used to renting cars, and when I do, I always waive the extra insurance. I use a credit card that has that extra coverage, and I feel comfortable not paying for more coverage through the rental agency. I have motorcycle insurance on both of my bikes, of course, but that doesn't seem to play a part in renting a motorcycle from a private person. So Riders Share offers insurance. Offers is an interesting way to put that. They mandate insurance, and there's 3 different levels. And they place a hold on the credit card for a decent amount of money if you go with one of the lower ones. I think like my deductible was $2,000, or I think the hold was for $2,000. Don't quote me now, but pretty sure that's what it was. I wasn't worried about the hold on the credit card. Not a big deal, as long as nothing happens to the bike. They release the hold and all as well, and I certainly wasn't planning on anything happening to the bike. And if it did, I had their insurance coverage. So, but that was a good, I want to say, extra $50 for a 24-hour period. Now I don't know if the rental is longer, if that is that amount per day or that amount per rental, and if I had had it for more days, would that be cheaper? So again, if anybody's done that, feel free to comment. But I wanted the bike, so I was fine with that. It just kind of, you think about it like the person who's renting the bike probably is not getting a portion of that. They're getting their rental fee, and they're probably paying a fee to have them listed. So again, any owners, or I know, Michael, I'm going to ask you a little bit to comment, but you can comment about that too, please. So I just went out and looked at the moment before I started recording this and working on the video. So to give you an idea of what's out there, there are 79 motorcycles available in the greater St. Pete area. And I would consider that a decent selection. I mean, some of those are definitely farther than I was willing to go on my trip, because again, I was Ubering and had a limited amount of time. But if you're there for a week in a greater area, you have a way to get there, that's a lot of choices, a lot of options. And I saw everything from Harleys to Indians to Hondas. I also saw cruisers, sport bikes, slingshots, trikes, Vespas. Yes, even a Vespa. So a decent opportunity for finding something you like, or just trying out something new and having fun with it. So in the days leading up to the trip, I had a few moments of kind of anxiousness about riding a different bike. Thoughts about the responsibility of riding a bike that belongs to a private owner. And I'm sure the owners of the bikes that are available in Riders Share have similar sites, have a variety of reasons for renting their bikes. And I'm sure they have a variety of concerns when their bike is being rented. They take the risk of a stranger coming into their home to take their bike, not knowing how they will drive it or behave with it. And the renter, or at least for me, I had thoughts of being in a strange area that I did not know. I had visited the area before in general, but not that specific area, the hotel and the rental itself. And I would be going up to a stranger's house and riding away with their bike. I knew that I would be Ubering there alone, and I had no personal protection. And it's not like renting a car at the airport where I reserve it online, go directly to the garage lot, pick out the car that I want within a specific area, and if I have an issue, there's an employee at the counter I can go and ask for help. Like, I'm very comfortable with the whole car thing. But, you know, it gave me second thought as I was on the days leading up to it. So as I thought about these things, I remembered the Indian test ride that I did during the Delmarva Ocean City Bike Week. And I have 2 videos about that experience. Check them out if you haven't seen them. But the Indian test rides were a really good experience for me. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I was definitely better off for it. And I expected that this was going to be a similar experience. As I mentioned before, but in case you're new here, I traveled a good bit for work prior to COVID. And there's many weeks that I flew into a city, picked up a rental vehicle, and then went on my way to an account. I drove many different vehicles during that time, and I enjoyed trying out new ones. Like, I made a game of it, like, what car haven't I driven before? Let me try this one out. I thought it was a terrific opportunity, trying out different makes and models to see what I liked about them and what I didn't about the vehicle. And I'd like to think that it helped me in selecting vehicles that I purchase. So why would this not be similar to those experiences, right? Yes, it's always a bit awkward the first few miles as you're getting used to the new vehicle, a different vehicle than what you're used to. But within no time at all, it's like you've driven it for years. You learn where everything is, and you're comfortable with it. So this was the expectation I had going into this experience. And I'll have another video that's specifically about the bike itself and my thoughts about the bike. Well, depending on when you're watching, it may already be released, but if not, it'll be the next one out. So as far as like the rider share experience itself, which is what this video is about, it did start out shaky with the 2 bikes being canceled. And again, I can't blame rider share for that. One for mechanical reasons and the other for a non-timely response from the owner. But I'm a firm believer that things work out as they're supposed to. And I'm glad that I was able to meet Michael, the owner, and had the opportunity to chat with him. I could not have asked for a better experience with an owner. He was great. I know he subscribes to this channel, so Michael, if there's anything you want to add from the owner's perspective, please do. I would appreciate your point of view from the owner's side of this. And oh, there's one other thing that I want to mention. I'd mentioned it in the Fort DeSoto one as well. I brought my Easy Pass from home because I had been in the area before and I knew that there were multiple tolls. I also knew and understood that I was renting from a private owner, and I did not want any tolls to come back on him. I actually have video, like if it ever came up, I have the video of me holding up the Easy Pass as I'm going through each of the tolls. So like I know I have proof that I did it. And just as a note to anybody who's thinking about renting in the future, take that as a tip or a best practice. Bring your Easy Pass with you. It just makes life a little bit easier. There's a lot of tolls these days that don't have the option to go through and pay cash. So they do a toll by plate, and I would never want that coming back to somebody. When it was something that I did, I want to be the one to pay for that. So anyway, that was just kind of a last minute thought there. But I want to go ahead and wrap this up by saying thank you. Truly, truly thank you for watching this video. If you have not yet, please do subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing and it means so much. I mean, so much to the growth of this channel. It only takes a click, that's all. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, thumbs up button too. Thanks again, and until next time, be safe and keep life shiny side up. Take care.